So how does one be the GOAT, the greatest of all time?
Well, how did they become the greatest? Right? A lot of time in the gym, a lot of shots, a lot of stretching, a lot of working out, a lot of years, a lot of grinding, a lot of, million shots or some legendary stories of people like Kobe. And so they put in the work, and it's more specific and quantifiable if you're lifting weights and running and jumping, because you can measure that stuff. It's really easy to figure out if you're getting better. The way that you become the GOAT is you have to execute, analyze, teach, and then rinse and repeat for a really long time, probably longer than most people are willing to do it.
Welcome to the UnScripted Authentic Leadership Podcast, a podcast where we're seeking to lead change. We're also seeking to understand. We're also here as a platform for leaders to come together to unite, to develop, and empower other leaders in the areas of business, family, and community. I'm your host, Lafayette Lane, joined by my co-host, John LeBron. And tonight, we are joined by our special guest, Chris Smith, who is a 4-time best-selling author. He is a guest lecturer at NYU. He's also a keynote speaker. And today, he has joined us right here on the UnScripted Authentic Leadership Podcast. Chris, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, guys. Excited to chat.
Absolutely. Let's get right into the conversation. You specialize in digital marketing, lead conversion, entrepreneurship, all of those great things, social media, online business, attracting clients. There was something interesting I saw on your Instagram, and I even think I see a picture of it behind you. You were talking about the GOAT, and you had a picture of Michael Jordan up, and you were talking about how to be the GOAT at marketing and sales. For those that are listening that may not know, that acronym stands for the greatest of all time.
That's
now,
right.
Chris, my GOAT is LeBron James, but we can talk about that another time.
And no one's perfect. Keep going.
What you talking about being the GOAT at marketing and sales. So how does one be the GOAT, the greatest of all time?
Well, how did they become the greatest? Right. A lot of time in the gym, a lot of shots, a lot of stretching, a lot of working out, a lot of years, a lot of grinding, a lot of, million shots or some legendary stories of people like Kobe. And so they put in the work, and it's more specific and quantifiable if you're lifting weights and running and jumping, because you can measure that stuff. It's really easy to figure out if you're getting better. The way that you become the GOAT is you have to execute, analyze, teach, and then rinse and repeat for a really long time, probably longer than most people are willing to do it. The one argument for LeBron that is super valid is his longevity and what he's been able to do over the course of a longer period of time. If you start to look at his stats now versus what Jordan was doing at this same age, it moves over to LeBron's favor. So, one of my good friends, he's an attorney, he said, go in early, stay late, do it forever. And that, I think, is part of it. And then the other part of it is self-awareness, DNA, choosing the right thing to try to be the GOAT at, because I don't know that the world needs most of the things people are becoming per se. The world doesn't need or isn't asking for another marketing podcast. Nobody's begging for more marketing books, so if you're going to say, I want to be the GOAT at something, it's got to be something that you love, that you're willing to commit to over time. So the way that I became the GOAT, if you will, in sales and dialing for dollars from the boiler room, where you definitely don't feel like the GOAT while you're doing that, that was the 10,000 hours, Malcolm Gladwell, countless calls, countless challenges, obstacles, objections, closings, reclosings, all the techniques that we all want to learn and teach in sales. And then I would say the way that I sort of shifted it to becoming more of like a marketing GOAT and kind of making both equally important is just that social media was born, at a time where like the timing for me was perfect, because I was young enough to really be excited about it, embrace it. But I wasn't, so old, so I wasn't putting it down. A lot of the coaches in real estate at the time were sending letters to their coaching clients saying, don't waste time on Facebook. Facebook's dumb. Social media is stupid. Get back to work. And so for me, it was like a combination of dialing for dollars from the boiler room, getting the reps in on the sales side. And then it was about being an early adopter and getting the reps in on the social side. So I just sort of got lucky that social media was just starting, because sales have been around forever. You know, you could have had a sales job in the 80s. You couldn't have been a social media manager in the 80s. You couldn't have been a TikTok video editor in the 90s, in the 2000s, right? Barely in the 2010s. And now all of a sudden, people can't keep up with the demand for vertical short video editors. So when I say over time, you know, being early to social, open-minded, excited, and then also aware. Like, I'll be honest, Lafayette, for me personally, I'm mostly concerned with bringing value to the people that I share things with. And the way that I know if I'm doing a good job or not is actually likes. It is comments. It is retweets. And because I've been doing this for, you know, so long now, I know if I am going to hit a home run and have something go huge, or if it's just going to be a bunt and get a few likes. And it does matter. That is your audience telling you if they're enjoying your content or not. Now, if you only care about pleasing yourself, totally different conversation. But if you're trying to create content with a goal of getting people to like you and trust you and want you in their news feed and let you become a part of their world every day as they're kind of scrolling in the freaking bathroom, you know, if that's your goal, you're going to have to put out content. You're going to have to embrace social media. You're going to have to do the new school tactics. And I hate to be pessimistic because I'm super optimistic by nature, but anyone who needs my help convincing them that they should be doing this stuff in 2023, you know, unacceptable. That ship has sailed. We have known about diets being important for many decades, right? And so people either at this point, right, they got it or not. Same thing with smoking cigarettes. I used to smoke. I quit. You know, the data came out, the science came out, the research was obvious. I quit. But if people didn't quit now, they're never going to quit because they've had 20 years to quit. So I think it's like with social media, with video, because I just hear all this blanketed advice, do video, you know, like, what is that? First of all, the question is, should you do video? Then it's what videos should you do? The idea of doing video, if I sat down with John for 30 minutes and then I sat down with you for 30 minutes, I bet the video advice I would give you two would be totally different as far as what your videos should be. So I think the reason I consider myself the GOAT at conversion is because conversion is when these two departments work in synergy, when they're working together, when it's 1 + 1 = 3. And then the other part of that I didn't really hit on in the Venn diagram is tech, because the reality is, to be a digital marketer, you better know what Figma is. Sorry. You know, if you have to Google Figma, you're not a digital marketer. You might do marketing for your business, but if you were an actual digital marketer for a living, you would know what Figma, Canva, you know, some of these tools are. They would be like second nature. You eat it up, you know, but other people don't. So hopefully there's some takeaways in there for people, but I think I'm the GOAT at the intersection of marketing, sales, and tech.
Wow. You said a lot there, and it was really good. And a lot of takeaways.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Just in case your mom hadn't told you.
I do tend to get a little wordy. That was spot on insight.
In case your mom hasn't told you, she's proud of you in a long time. That was really good. No, but really. So you talked a lot about, hey, you mentioned something like, if I talk to John and Lafayette, there might be different mediums of what I would recommend. Mm-hmm. Is there a way, without sitting down with you one-on-one for like right now, like how would one sort of self-analyze a little bit on what is the ideal medium? Or for me, is it blogs? Is it podcasts? Audio, text, whatever. How would somebody get an idea of the right direction?
Yeah, well, there's an exercise that I do in my workshop. I'm going to try to grab the workbook here and I'll flip to it while we talk. But the idea would be you're going to first have to grade yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in about 15 different buckets that are super important. So things like Twitter, email marketing, influencer marketing, TikTok, Facebook, and see where you're at now. And then you need to figure out, what do I want to keep doing the way I'm already doing it? What do I want to keep but change? So I still want to do TikTok, but I'm definitely open to trying it differently. Or what do you just want to replace or remove? Because that's also very empowering and freeing to say, you know what, we're not going to worry about LinkedIn ever. It's okay if we never do LinkedIn, or whatever that thing may be, because there's a lot. I don't know if you guys see the list, but that's a lot of things to grade yourself in. So step one is, what are you going to keep? What are you going to replace? What are you going to drop or edit? And then how important are these things to you? Because it's not just about, right now I'm a 2 at TikTok. John, if you say you're a 2 at TikTok, but you also tell me that TikTok is not important to you and you could care less and you think it's kind of dumb, we're going to throw that on the remove pile. I'm okay doing that. Maybe some people are not okay saying it's okay not to do this thing ever, but there's only so much time in the day. So where all that ends up is what I call marketing's hierarchy of needs. And that would be what is the stuff that truly matters, truly the most, that I should spend the most time on, that really matters. And it's not going to be everything, and then what are the things that we should alter, tweak, reevaluate? Let's spend a little bit of time on that too, but let's be willing to have that big chunk at the bottom. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it says no time. I mean, literally, it says no time. We're going to spend no time on these. So that's how I do it. You're saying do it on your own. That's exactly what I would do if I sat down with any business in the world.
What would you say to a business or a digital marketer or a business owner, entrepreneur that says, my issue is not necessarily getting leads, but it's converting on those leads? Mm-hmm. What are some tips that you would give to them?
Well, I would say you're on the right call, because I'm the king of conversion. No, I would say, first of all, I read this article years ago. The most powerful sort of short phrase you can tell people is, you are not alone. It is a big challenge for lots of people. My industry, the real estate industry, I say they're always crying in their own soup. Like, we're just all the only ones that deal with like lead conversion challenges. I got the biggest life insurance companies in the world calling me. They can't figure it out. I got the largest brokerages, $1 billion companies. Chris, we need to look at our funnels. It's hard. It's hard. And so what you do on this one is actually a little bit simpler. You just need to figure out, like, you're saying I can't convert. Okay. You're saying you got the leads, you can't convert. Does that mean you can't go from lead to appointment? Okay. Or does that mean you can't go from appointment to contract signed? Because those are two different problems too. If you have leads coming in, but you can't even get them where they're like on your calendar booked, that is a matter of like speed to response, automated SMS, really short and sweet, drip email campaigns. Calling once and then they don't pick up, and then you call again, and then 30 minutes, that is sort of different advice than if you're already having appointments with qualified leads and you're not closing, then, and I say, start with section 3. There's a conversation that's different when it's an internet lead that's a stranger, and when it occurs over a phone or over a Zoom like this, than when it would in person. And that comes down to things like body language, right? And so I help people have the best call for the person on the other end of the call. Like, I make it better for them, which sort of backwards makes it better for me. But it actually does require, if I'm being honest, it does require like specific sort of tactics where it is very odd to say this, like say this, and I hate to do that because it's not a script, but there are times where you need to just do what I tell you. So when you're pitching and you got them excited and you're basically, that they're ready to move forward and you're sort of, okay, in your mind, you're connecting all these dots. All right, great. Here's what happens next. Here's what happens next is something that you can remember real easily when you're kind of ending your pitch that's going well and trying to get to the terms, right? Because this is where I think a lot of people struggle. We got to talk about the price. And you got to be able to talk about the price with confidence, with clarity. It's part of what you do is cover the cost. So the way I teach it is you do your pitch. Here's what happens next. We're going to send over a proposal, right? It's going to have this on it. It's going to give you the timeline. The call we're going to do together is going to be this day. On that call, here's what's going to happen. So what you're doing is you're foreshadowing the next steps. This is where people say assuming the sale. You're just assuming the sale. And then you would say something like, all right, great. In order for me to send that proposal, I just do need a credit card to secure the deposit for our services. Can you please read it 4 digits at a time? So see where I'm going with that? It's like, you're not really saying, do you want to work with me? Like through what I'm hearing, through what I'm feeling on the call, through the vibes I'm getting, if you will, I know they want to work with me. They're asking buying questions. The way that I teach pitching is called feature benefit tie down. So when you do a tie down 5 times in a row during a pitch, and each time they say, yeah, that makes sense, John. That's what a tie down is, sort of getting them to confirm you liked what you just heard, right? Hey, we're going to run your Facebook ads. Your Facebook ads right now are terrible, right? Right. Okay, great. We're also going to build your website. You told me your website didn't look that great. You said you're embarrassed about it, right? Right. Okay. You know what I'm saying? That is, if they're saying, yeah, right? And that's a matter of earlier in the call me listening. I don't need to say what a lot of people say, which is, so what do you think? What do you think? So are we doing this? Should I get the paperwork ready? They try to come up with something really clever. And that part, just pull it out. You're pitching, they're in. Here's what happens next. Foreshadow the process because they're moving forward. And then obviously if they're moving forward, they need to know how much it costs and what the terms are. And that's just part of the process. We have a 6-month retainer. It's $5,000 a month. The first month is 10. That's it. People right then, they start talking more. Remember, they're sold, they're sold. So I learned this from a guy at Quicken Loans. His name was David Boyce. I want to give him credit. I have no idea where he's at now. I knew him 15 years ago, but I guarantee you he's in sales and he's rich. I guarantee you he's a great dude. And he was teaching a quick little class one time called The Price is the Price. And he talked about how, because I don't know if you guys know this about the mortgage industry, this is one of the dirty little secrets, but you can charge more closing costs than you need to. Like if somebody gets a higher rate than they need to, their closing costs are lower, and then that's called premium. So that's where the mortgage companies make a lot of money. And then as a banker, you get a good chunk of that premium that you add because it's just pure profit. So they'll give you a big chunk of it. So he was great at that. He was like the legend that called it green. So he was good at going green. So he said he would teach it. This is what Quicken did. It was so smart. Anybody that was good at anything, they taught a class about it. That's how you should do this. But he basically said, you guys go to 7-Eleven, you go to Wawa's, we have Circle K, I'm in the South, and you walk in, you go to Buc-ee's, right? And you go to the checkout and you hand them your drink and they say $129. And you hand them your money and you leave. Like that's how the price works. You don't say, well, if you can do $1.19, I'm in. It doesn't work like that. The price is the price. It's not a negotiation. It's just part of what it is. Now there are industries, mine, by the way, these realtors, they can negotiate their commission to whatever rate they want it to be. And so that is a big challenge right then. Companies all the time, they cut their commission, they lower their cost. Why? They can't effectively pitch features and benefits. So this is important to get right. I'm glad you brought it up.
Wow. Yeah, I loved what you said about moving forward. One of the things I was just teaching an entrepreneur that I'm sort of coaching was quit asking, quit asking them if they want to go the next step. You just keep making the next step until they say, all right, just stop. Like until they give you the halt, they're ready to go to the next step. Otherwise, you're asking for objections. You're asking for them to say, well, like don't give them their answer. They want to move forward. They're just scared. And they need your certainty and confidence to keep them moving forward because people need certainty. Yep. I don't know if that has anything to do with what you meant by your process, but it sounded very similar.
It is. You're right. Because if someone's voice starts trembling when they talk about the price, like, oh man, you just sort of undid all that good faith that you built up. If you're have any kind of stuttering or just sort of, it doesn't come out smoothly, like you've said it a few times before, that is when people's radars, I think, go up a little bit. So yeah, a lot of it is just the delivery. And this is where practice helps. Listening to your calls back helps. Hearing other people do it really well helps. That's why sales coaching is so important at these companies that I've worked at.
When he's doing personal coaching. And so he said, he goes, I'm going to go back. I knew what he was doing is he said, I'm going to go back and check the person to see if he's ready to be in my next program. And I said, what do you mean you have to go back and ask? I get if they said in 6 months is when I'm ready to go, but for the most part, but it kept coming up. And I said, I think you're allowing them to dictate. You're asking them when they want to start, if they understand they're talking to you because they want what you can provide. They want your training. So instead of saying, would you like to get into the next cohort or program or whatever you're doing, just say, hey, I can set you up in my next one. Here's the price. And just keep on moving forward until they say, actually, I need to stop. It's Christmas season. I don't have any money. Let's start.
It's funny that you said that because you almost listed, I pulled up, I have a thing called the creeds for each section in the book, the conversion code creeds. And the part of the closer's creed, John, maybe you should get into sales coaching, my friend. One of the, little sayings in the closer's creed is that you're in charge. It's that yes is not an accident. So those are the sort of things that are like principles of sales, and this is something that I think no one talks enough about, because I can promise you guys, as a content creator who's giving sales advice, I get piled on sometimes by, call it normal people, consumers. They are mad. There's vitriol. They hate us. It is venom. I mean, it is really wild how mad people get. And so for me, it's just like, I understand why they're hurt, but at the same time, very, very, very few people get tricked into buying things. Very, very few people will not put the foot on the gas if you are moving forward, like we're talking about, and versus saying, so do you think you want to do this, and getting the objection. If you just assume the sale and push through and say, okay, great, which credit card did you want to use? There's not a person in the world that's afraid of you right then. It's not going to be like, hold on a second, man. I'm not even ready to give you my credit card. I have a few more questions. People don't get tricked into buying stuff, but people have been fooled. People have been misled. People have been overpromised a lot because the product and the service they bought didn't deliver on the sort of swagger the sales guys brought to the presentation of it. That is why people get mad. So it isn't that they get tricked into buying per se. It's that they're getting tricked into thinking what they bought would be great. I hope that makes sense. It is a very nuanced point.
Chris, we were just talking about, I asked you about converting and those that are having a hard time with those converting those leads into sales. You've actually written a book on the conversion code, as you can see right behind John.
Yes.
That talks about stop chasing leads and start attracting clients. Tell us about the book.
Well, The book is sort of my life's work. When you asked about being the GOAT, and I talked about marketing, sales, and tech, I'm sort of, that is exactly what's in the book. So, section 1 is how to do digital marketing that attracts high quality leads. Section 2 is how to follow up so that you turn the most leads possible into appointments. And then the third part is inside sales, what we just kind of went through there: conversations, scripts, dialogues, techniques over the phone to have the highest close rate possible. So if you hit that trifecta, it's great. Your marketing's high quality, your follow-up's dialed in and creating a lot of appointments, and then your sales team is saying the right stuff. That's what the conversion code is.
Chris, we always wrap up our last segment with our off-script moment where we ask our guests to leave our audience whatever's on your heart that you feel that would be pertinent for them and start them on their way. Give us your off-script moment.
Well, as you said that, the thing that came to mind, and this happened to me when I started, parenting. I don't know if you guys you guys have kids?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yes.
Okay. How old are your kids?
I have a 6-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Mine are 8 and 11.
Perfect. You guys are the perfect people to tell this to. It's about to get way worse. There's this decade where you're their everything, and you're the gratitude, the appreciation daddy, right? You're the superhero. And then it just 180s at the tween teen, and all of a sudden, like, you don't recognize them anymore. They don't want to hang out with you. And you sort of lose this big part of what you came to rely on for your self-worth, if I'm being really honest. And so, if for 10 or 12 straight years, one of your sources of joy every day was the admiration and appreciation of your child and spending time with them, it ends quick. And maybe for me, it's even more expanded because I have two. I have a 15 and a 13. So I'm 2 for 1. And it just sucks. At the same time, the relationship changes and evolves, and you sort of know that it's going to get good again, right? Like, you kind of know that it's those teenage years, and you don't want to judge them, and it's the hormones, but I think that's a challenge for a lot of people that they don't like to talk about. I think people at a high level, we all sort of just dismiss, teenagers are annoying, right? Teenagers. But at an emotional human level, the sort of type of love they give you for 10 to 12 years changes. And I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't. And, I think we trick ourselves into thinking that we're the cool dad, and, it won't happen to me. And, and it just does. It does. And maybe people don't outwardly show it as much because it's obviously not fun to say, like, my daughter hates me half the time, but my daughter hates me half the time. That's just true. And she used to love me all the time. So it's a big change. And when you said something unscripted, it's just something that I'm going through every day. I'm living it. And it's a challenge. I wouldn't say it's a fun challenge, but it is a challenge. And I'm up for the battle, but it's a battle, and I'm in the battle, and you guys are going to be there soon, and you're not going to believe me. So one day you're going to tell someone else this.
Amazing. Listen, follow Chris on Instagram at Chris, CHRIS_SMTH.
That's right.
Myth without the I. That's _SMTH. Follow him there on Instagram. Also buy his book, The Conversion Code, Stop Chasing Leads and Start Attracting Clients. Stay connected here with us on Unscripted. You can follow us on social media at Unscripted Leadership. Our website, unscripted-leadership.com. Podcast is available on all audio streaming platforms. Of course, you want to support us on our patreon.com/unscripted leadership. You can do so there. Again, we say thank you to Chris Smith for having this amazing gym fire-packed episode with us here tonight here on Unscripted. As always, we pray that you be the leader that God has called you to be. We're here to build bridges and not walls. Bridges connect and walls divide. Until next time, God bless you.